New mic, who this? Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and yes, I have actually got a new microphone. As a matter of fact, I've gotten a new headset. It seems to be sounding a little bit better. I'll let you guys be the judge in the comments. It's not an expensive headset or anything like that, but it certainly sounds like better quality than the PS4 microphone I've been using. Probably because it actually has a proper microphone on it rather than just a receiver built in. So yeah, hopefully it's going to work out rather well. Anyway, today we're taking a look at the Sho't Dalet. This is the Israeli IDF, or the Israeli Defense Forces, modified version of the Centurion. First, I'm going to go over a little bit of history on this tank as best as I can. I was looking for a specific website in order to do this, and I haven't really had any luck. So instead I'm using a Wikipedia entry. No, it's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. So let's crack open the Wikipedia entry and see what it has to say, shall we? The first shot, 1970. The British Centurions, first delivered in the late 1950s, were renamed Sho't, which is scourge or whip in Hebrew. Modified and upgraded soon after their acquisition. This started with the Mark III, still equipped with the 20-pounder main guns, and upgunned to the new locally produced 105mm based on the British ROF L7. And now I know for a fact that in game this gun is called the SHAREr, SHARIR off the top of my head, but we'll cover that in more detail a little bit later on. As soon as it was available, they were modified to the new 105mm guns. The cupola ring was modified to accommodate a heavy 50 caliber anti-aircraft mount. The engine was kept as it was, earning the name, later on, for these unmodified vehicles of Sho't Meteor. Other detailed modifications comprised an improved fire extinguishing system, better electrical systems and brakes, and increased fuel capacity. The Sho't Cal, 1974. The Sho't Cal, which stands for Continental simplified in Cal, can be distinguished easily by its raised rear engine deck, which we see in game. So to accommodate a bigger, more efficient American diesel engine. Indeed, they will have a new Continental AVDS 1790-2A diesel engine, coupled with an Allison CD850-6 transmission. This also in turn helped commonality with the M48 or M60's fleet and their maintenance. In addition, they were fitted with American radios plus a 7.62mm caliber GPMG, preferably to their Browning 30 cal on a tailored commander's cupola arm, or an alternative, a heavier 12.7mm Browning M2 HB caliber heavy machine gun, which is also present on a forward centerline mount over the mantlet, which we do see in game. Most importantly, a new turret rotating mechanism was fitted, a new gun stabilizer, the fire control system as a whole was locally modernised. The sights, also new IR sights, the glacis armour and the turret front were thickened by add-on layers, and later received provisions for the new explosive reactive armour blazer package, also on the glacis and turret front. Ultimately, a roomier ammunition layout was used to increase ammo stowage. An extra turret basket was added on the back, and new smoke dischargers were also added to the turret later protected by armoured covers and new commander's cupola from the Gimel in 1982. These improvements were known over time as the Sho't Cal Aleph 1974, new engine and transmission, new pannier and a modified cupola. The Sho't Cal Bet, or the Cal B, 1976, add-on armour and other improvements. The Sho't Cal Gimel, Cal C, 1982, Blazer ERA, new FCS, new sights, smoke discharger covers. And finally the Sho't Cal Dalet, 1985, gun thermal sleeve, which we see in game on this model, a new laser rangefinder. Dates and possible improvements are only indicative. We still need more precise information on this. So the late variants, 1990. The Sho't Cal were used until the end of the 1980s. They were later disposed of and gradually converted in new tasks so that they are for the most still in active service today under these new variants. The only exception, if the Singaporean Tempest, we will see in detail. So effectively, the Sho't Cal Dalet is a Sho't Cal with a gun sleeve, thermal sights, or better thermal sights, a new laser rangefinder, and that's about it. Otherwise, it's effectively the same as the other variants of the Sho't Cal, including the ERA armor, but that was added on the Sho't Gimel anyway. On the Sho't Bet, sorry. Now, this is the stage in one of my review videos where I'd actually start going into a little bit more detail in regards to the conflicts that the tank in question fought in. This gets a little bit complicated with the Israelis because there's a lot of politics surrounding the Israeli government, the Israeli nation as a whole, not the people, because it's not to do with racism, it's to do with the way the country is ran and their attitudes toward their Arabic neighbours. But we'll gloss over that and just say that the Israelis have had quite a few fights over the years with their Arab neighbours. Syria, Egypt, Iraq, Iran. You know, these are all countries that don't get on very well with Israel, and Israel don't get on very well with them either. It's worth pointing out that while the Israelis see themselves as defending their homeland, not everybody sees it like that. I'm not going to get involved because I do my best to avoid politics on my channel, and I will continue to do my best to avoid it, starting from now. During the Yom Kippur War, the Israeli Sho't Centurions did very well fighting against T-54s and T-62s, fielded by the Egyptians, off the top of my head, I might be wrong. And, you know, the Six-Day War, the war in, where was it, Lebanon, the Israeli Centurions fought in Lebanon as well. There's actually a very good film based around a Centurion tank crew in the Lebanon, called Lebanon. It's a very difficult film to follow. Obviously all of it is in Hebrew, more or less, and the whole film is filmed from inside the tank. There are certain occasions where you see the outside world, but generally you're seeing the whole world through the crew's sights and optics. Don't get me wrong, this has got some amazing cinematic feel to it, just unfortunately I think it kind of takes away from the wow factor, but the film tries to focus more on the crew's relationship with one another, sort of like they did in Fury, only a lot less cinematic. If you haven't seen it, I fully recommend going to try and find it. It's an astounding film. So, with a little bit of history out of the way, I think it's about time we get into what the vehicle looks like in game. So, I'll jump back into War Thunder and do an in-garage voiceover like I always do. Yeah, so let's do that now, shall we? So, here is the Sho't Dalet in War Thunder. For those of you who are unaware, she is a premium, rank 5, battle rating 8.3 main battle tank for the British Ground Forces. Generally, I sort of turn my nose up against the rank 5 premiums, although I'm well aware that if I was to outright decry against them, I would be a massive hypocrite. For a start, I bought this thing, and I also bought the, what's the name of it, the American thing, where is it? The XM1. Yeah, I also bought the XM1, despite my rant video on that thing, but if you haven't seen that video, I wouldn't actually suggest you watch it. It makes me seem very childish, and that's not who I am, but I digress. Let's get on with the review, shall we? So we'll start with the stat card first. That's normally where I start these things. So, as I said, it is a rank 5 battle rating 8.3 vehicle. The 105 Sharia cannons carries 72 shots. You also get a 7.62mm FN mag 60-40 machine gun in the coax, which is here, just below the 50 cal on the gun mantlet. You also get a 12.7mm 50 cal, which is attached to the top of the gun mantlet. I do not know how the hell you're supposed to fire this thing. If anybody knows, let me know in the comments, because it certainly isn't wired up anywhere to be fired from inside the tank, so yeah, I don't really understand that, but we'll go with it. You also get an extra two more FN mags on the commander's cupola up here, and on the other hatch over here on the side of the turret. So, for those of you who have been counting, this makes for 3 light machine guns and a heavy machine gun armament on this tank alone, which is brilliant. You also get these 2 smoke grenade dischargers at the front. These are 66mm smoke grenade launchers. You get 20, so Those are 2 charges of 10 each. You also get this smoke grenade launcher back here. Worth noting, and you will see this in the gameplay footage I've collected, that you get two charges from the ones at the front. This one tends to fire once per charge, so you get 10 shots for the single launcher, use 2 when you use the 66mm launchers, and you have to restock that one first. And obviously, because it's not a charge, it's just a single grenade, it restocks them one at a time. So while you may restock these in 2 restocking animation things, I don't really know what to call it, you'll know what I mean. I'll point it out in the gameplay because I do restock my smoke grenades. But you have to restock this one first, which is worth remembering, because you can't restock these as fast as you should be able to, because you have to restock this one first, and you have to restock the 2 grenades separately, assuming you only use it, like, assuming you don't use it at all and you only use these, if that makes any sense. I could probably try and explain that better. The turret rotation speed for the Sho't Dalet is 15.1 degrees per second. Pretty slow, but you're not going to be circle strafing anything in this tank anyway. 10 degrees of gun depression, 18 degrees of elevation. This is where this tank shines. You can peak ridgelines with this thing, much like the Israelis did in a lot of their conflicts. That's how they used them, and they got on very well with them like that. Thank you very much. The reload rate is 7.8 seconds, very fast for a 105mm gun, especially at this battle rating. Most of the tanks you're going to be fighting, as a matter of fact, what's the reload on the Centurion Mark 10? 7.9 on my crew setup, but you don't have the ERA plating or anything on that tank, so all the heavy machine guns. Hull armour we'll get into in a minute. We'll do the armour separately. You have a crew of 4. The tank weighs 54 tons and has a 750 horsepower American diesel engine, as we've covered, hence the higher end on the engine deck here, higher back engine deck here. 48 kilometers per hour top speed. You will not see this unless you throw it off of a cliff. Generally, you're looking at 25 to 30 kilometers an hour on mud and sand, and around 40 to 45 kilometers an hour on grass and other surfaces. You will get 50 odd on tarmac if you're lucky, and that's going downhill, but I wouldn't push it. Visibility is irrelevant because I play in realistic, although it's worth noting that this engine has a hell of a lot of torque. I've gotten into some positions where I never would have thought I'd been able to reach, but it just kept chugging along. Even if it was only doing 1 mile an hour or 1 kilometer an hour, it would pull itself up a cliff, basically. It was astounding. So let's jump into the armour. We're not going to bother with modifications, you get it all from stock, but I will look at the shells in a minute. So you have this ramming bull bar on the front of the tank, which, as well as holding a road wheel, it also acts as a battering ram. These were actually fitted to the Israeli Centurions, and again, the politics side of this, the reason that they have them is because the Palestinians have a habit of setting up roadblocks whenever they have a riot. That is why there are that is why there is a bull bar on the front of your tank. As mentioned in the historical part of this video, you also get Blazer ERA, 50mm thick, which helps at protecting the vehicle from heat rounds, and ATGMs of course, because they're a heat munition. You also get Blazer ERA on the top of the hull here that is supposed to protect against the weak spots. I don't know why it isn't all the way across the top of the hull, but I don't know, maybe you can tell me that in the comments. You get no ERA plating on the bottom of the lower glacis here, 76.2mm thick. You get Blazer ERA all over the gun mantlet as well, and on the top of the turret, here and here. You get side skirts like you do on the normal Centurions, 6mm thick. There is no other ERA on this tank other than at the front, and you have no composite armour, just ERA, and the armour underneath, obviously, the standard steel armour. Side of the turret, we're looking at, let's see, about 90mm thick. Actually no, I tell a lie, there is some Blazer ERA here on the sides of the turret, which is nice to see. I mean, obviously they couldn't cover up this hatch, but basket on the back, which doesn't appear to be modelled, so don't expect that to be stopping any heat rounds anytime soon. Rear of the engine, 38mm thick, exactly the same as the stock Centurion. 14mm on the top of the engine deck and 5mm on the vents on the engine deck. Here we can see where the ERA plates are located. The ammo rack is dead center of the tank. Big ass diesel engine here in the back with the fuel tank at the rear. Engine and transmission also in the rear of the tank. Shitloads of ammunition all over the place. I only carry 30 rounds in this tank, and I only carry AP FSDS because that's what I use the most. And yet you can't get rid of this ammo rack as far as I'm aware. Admittedly, I haven't tried, but normally if you can get rid of it, there's a secondary ammo stowage, and there isn't one. If there is, it's normally in the turret, but that doesn't exist on this tank. It's worth pointing out while we're looking at the armour that I have actually survived quite a few hits in this tank, both from ATGMs and from fin stabilised Sabo rounds. Rounds that I wouldn't necessarily would have thought I would have been able to survive, but with this ERA and a little bit of angling, you can get lucky. You should not rely on it, but then I say this with every tank in War Thunder. You cannot rely on your armour. Play in a way that mediates that problem, so that it does never become an issue. You don't want to be getting shot at in the first place if you can absolutely help it. So now let's take a look at the shells that you get on this tank, and then we'll jump into the gameplay. We get the M111 APFSDS shell. This is the one that I use. 380mm of penetration at 100 on a flat angle, going out to 360 at 2 kilometers. On a 60-degree angle, we're looking at 197mm of penetration at 100, going out to 187 at 2000. You also get Hesh, 127mm of pen at a flat angle. Heat, 127mm. Wait, no, there we go. 400mm of pen at a flat angle, going out to just shy of 200 on a 60-degree angle, and a smoke shell. You could carry the smoke shell, but given the fact you get 2 charges plus 8 more, so you're getting like 10 charges of smoke shells anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't bother, if I'm being honest with you. I don't really see the point. So that's the Sho't Dalet in the hangar. Let's go and see how she plays. So here we are in the gameplay footage for my Sho't Dalet for this review video. This is on the Normandy map, not a map I was actually expecting to do a review video on for this tank. I was hoping to get a desert map, you know, that would have been fitting, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I did get quite a bit of footage on the desert maps that I thought I was going to do a compilation with, but meh, I couldn't really be bothered, so here we are. We have 3 Object 120s on our team. I was also hoping to be fighting the Soviets, by the way, just to test what this thing would have actually been like, you know. It was all for the atmosphere of shooting at Soviet tanks in an IDF Centurion. Be that as it may, they're actually on our team, and we have 3 Object 120s. Not a clue why. They rust the C-cap, took it, so I got no points, but I'm not really that fussed. That's one thing I've actually forgotten to mention in the hangar part of this review. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. The XP gain from this tank, I think it's 690% or something like that. It's really high. My Challenger Mark III, which I didn't think I was in a hope with, I didn't think I had a hope in hell of getting it anytime soon. I've gone from 310,000 research to 230,000 remaining in the space of 2 days, and that's not grinding. That's just casual play, trying to get decent matches. You know, that's just from getting 1 or 2 kills, jumping back into the hangar because I only took out the Sho't Dalet. Jumping back into the hangar, jumping into my next match, rinse and repeat. I've also not been losing money. I have used all of my free repairs. You get 30 with this tank. It costs 4,400 lions to repair each time, full repair, so if your tank gets destroyed, which is not a lot. I mean, it's not very cheap. The XM1's 2,500 or something stupid like that. It needs to go up, really, but that's just an example for comparison's sake. Yeah, basically, it's quite cheap. I've made money on it constantly. I'd make even more money if I was actually playing with another premium, or if I was driving out another vehicle, like my Warrior. My Warrior's on the lineup because it's an 8.0. Don't worry, there will be a video coming on that at some stage. But yeah, basically this tank has just amazed me, in honesty. I'm not a fan of the Mark 10 Centurion, So I took a bit of a jump when I bought this thing, and I did buy this thing outright. It was £50 sterling, of course, and I don't feel like I've wasted my money. I actually enjoy this tank. I like vehicles that are shared between nations, not something where it's just a reskin, because this isn't just a reskin. The gun is different, the engine is different, all of the machine guns all over the turret, the ERA, it's more than just decals and a reskin. So I don't mind paying that little bit of money for the sake of this tank. First target, Yag Tiger. Not a clue what he's doing in this match, he must have gotten himself up tiered, so poor him. What have we here? That is a STB-1, one shot straight through the back of the engine deck, cutting through the turret ring, taking out the crew. There's also 2 more tanks around here, but I don't know what they are yet. I'm just following that smoke trail. Use 1 charge of my smoke grenade launchers to cover my advance, in case there's anything down that road. Can't really see what I'm shooting at here. There's a mouse. Take out his gun breech first, because he can't really damage me with a 76mm gun. Or his secondary armament, what is it, 37? I can't remember what it is, but he can't kill me with that gun. That's all I care about. Take out the Leopard A1. He is no longer a threat. Take out the mouse's gunner. I'm going to need 1 more shot to finish this guy off. He's no threat to me with his gun out of action though. Take him out. And that's 4 kills. For a second burst of my smoke grenade launchers, you'll see I have 8 charges left. These are not charges, these are single grenades from the smoke grenade launcher I showed you in the hangar, on the back right hand side of the turret near the commander's cupola. Now you'll notice, once I've captured the zone, that I have to actually restock those individually. Language is hard today, I apologise. I have to restock those individually before I can restock the main launchers on the front of the turret. Once I've restocked the 2 separate ones for the small launcher, the two on the front of the turret get restocked pretty quickly, thankfully. So this tank is mobile, reasonably well armoured. The gun has done nothing but amaze me, frankly. I kind of expected this thing to only have APDS like the Mark 10 Centurion does. I'm very grateful to be wrong. Although I suppose the battle rating should have been a good indication of that, but here we are. The engine is very grunty, has a lot of torque. While the tank may not be fast, it certainly gets up and gets going pretty quickly. The speed that it does have, it gets to quite quickly. The torque from the engine allows you to reach your top speed relatively fast. So you'll see I restocked the 2 grenades I'd used from the separate launcher, now I'm restocking the main ones. And both charges done in the space of 10 seconds, 15 seconds. There was a Leopard 1 around that corner, but the Object 120 has just dealt with him. I don't know why these Object 120 players are using their tanks as assault guns, but whatever, it's amusing to watch, it makes good footage. Crack on. If I had one very minor problem with this tank, it would be the fact that it lacks an IDF skin, per se. You get this basic camouflage greeny grey sort of colour, which I'm not really a fan of. I bought the desert camo for it, because I had the Eagles obviously, because I bought the pack. Just because it's something a little bit different, and I stuck the Israeli Air Force roundels on either side of the turret. I would like for there to be some decals of Israeli numbers, Hebrew numbers, to put on the tank, but there aren't any. I would like for there to be a tank skin that I could get in a loot crate possibly, but there isn't one, not yet anyway. I'm sure somebody's designed one, and you can probably get it for free on PC, so if you play on PC, more the power to you. Go and grab it, it will make the tank look a lot better, in my personal opinion anyway. I like my tanks to look realistic. I'm not one of these people that just sticks a flag over the tank because I think it's amusing or because I want to represent my country. I'm not like that. I'd much rather put as historic as possible markings I can on a tank, which is why I was kind of thankful when the loot crates came into the game. Yeah, it's gambling, I suppose, but if you get a skin you really want, you're not really losing anything. Quite frankly, the amount of money I've put into this game over the years, I couldn't really care less. I can't complain. So yeah, the Sho't Dalet. I really like this tank. I'm never one to tell you where you guys should spend your money, but if you're considering buying this thing, and you like your snipers, reasonably mobile mediums, I would suggest giving it a go. Test drive it first, see what you think, but I quite like it personally. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think my new mic sounds like. And I'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video. Cheers.